just so we set the record straight, because I've been watching the Wall Street Journal's fake news and all these stories that get printed like, oh, I want to make a deal. They are begging to make a deal, not me. They're begging to make a deal. And anybody that saw what was happening over there would understand why they want to make a deal. But they say, oh, we're not talking to them. Anybody would know that. And only a total fool. And they're not fools. They're very smart, actually, in a certain way. And they're great negotiators. I say they're lousy fighters, but they're great negotiators. They are begging to work out a deal. I don't know if we'll be able to do that. I don't know if we're willing to do that. They should have done that 4 weeks ago. They should have done it 2 years ago. That's why they're talking to us. They wouldn't talk otherwise. But they're talking to us because they've got a disaster in their hands. They're defeated. They can't make a comeback. We're free to roam over their cities and towns and destroy all of their crazy nuclear weapons and missiles and drones that they're building. And we're doing that. They now have a chance to make a deal, but that's up to them. And they'll tell you, we're not negotiating. We will not negotiate. Of course they're negotiating. They've been obliterated. Who wouldn't negotiate? They are begging to make a deal. We'll see if we can make the right deal. And if they make the right deal, then the strait will open up. Hormuz Strait will open up. But they now have the chance, that is Iran, to permanently abandon their nuclear ambitions and to chart a new path forward. We'll see if they want to do it. If they don't, we're their worst nightmare. In the meantime, we'll just keep blowing them away, unimpeded, unstopped. Well, there's not a thing they can do about it. They can't do anything about it, you know. I tell you, if they could, you'd be hearing about it. You'd be hearing about it. You don't hear anything about it. And again, we had to take a little detour. Won't be long. Going to end soon. We had to take a little detour, go to Iran, and we had to put out a fire. I could just say this: they want to make, and I probably hurt our little negotiation. It gives them a little impetus to say, well, I wish you didn't say that. But they said yesterday that we weren't negotiating with them, and now they admit that we were negotiating with them. So they want to make a deal. The reason they want to make a deal is they have been just beat to shit.
A further concession by the U.S. president. Soon after he said he doesn't care about coming to an agreement with Iran, President Trump has now extended the deadline for negotiations before carrying out strikes he has threatened on Iran's energy infrastructure to next week. He said on social media, as per Iranian government request, please let this statement serve to represent that I am pausing the period of energy plant destruction by 10 days to Monday, April 6, 2026 at 8 p.m. Eastern Time.
I read a story today that I'm desperate to make a deal. If I was desperate, he'd be the first to know. Pete, let's get the hell out of there. I'm the opposite of desperate. Mm-hmm. I don't care. I want to know. In fact, we have other targets we want to hit before we leave.
Across-the-board sell-off on Wall Street as investors monitor the mixed and even confusing diplomatic signals on the Iran war. The Nasdaq fell more than 2%, ended the day in correction territory, that is 10% below its most recent high. U.S. bond yields continue to rise as well. The yield on the benchmark 10-year Treasury hit an 8-month high. Brent crude settled more than 5% higher at $108 a barrel.
You know, he's put out a deadline. It was 48 hours, then it was 5 days, and we're used to this, okay? But did he really put this out because talks are ongoing and that's why the delay? Or is it because Trump is trying to buy time before striking Iran? Because thousands of American troops are still on their way to the region, and they're not going to be there in time for his first deadline, which is tomorrow. Actually, it's his second deadline. So by another week. Is that it? Or is Trump just trying to manipulate the markets? Today, the Nasdaq ended down more than 2%, which put it into a formal correction territory because of the war. And Deutsche Bank actually even has a model now that they say helps predict when Trump is going to change his mind, or quote unquote TACO, the Trump always chickens out term that's been made popular by Wall Street traders. It's basically a pressure index. The higher it goes, the more pressure on Trump from a variety of things like inflation and markets, the higher the chance Trump will reverse course. They said, it was a record level coming into today. And then, well, guess what? So you saw the tariff delay, when he said he wouldn't fire Jerome Powell, not using force in Greenland. You can see the chart call it every single time. Now higher than ever during the war, and somehow, suddenly, a delay of another 10 days, perhaps.
The Pentagon is putting together options for President Trump if he decides that peace talks with Iran are going nowhere and instead chooses a major escalation in this war in an attempt to force the Iranians to the negotiating table. All of the options that we're reporting on tonight carry significant risk for U.S. forces. The options that the Pentagon is preparing for a final blow.
Front, dude.
Get in there. Drop him on. You're smart. Give it, sir. Who's behind you? Look up Patino's road. My shirt is right.
播报新闻是我的日常，必须时刻保持妆容和皮肤的最佳状态。当来到人生中最重要的时刻，也是 KS 逆时奇迹帮助我轻松驾驭，闪闪发光。KS 逆时奇迹活肤露全效精华、精华霜，多达5种 EGF 6大冻龄关键成分，保湿效果让我非常满意，小细纹也不再困扰我。我就是我自己的最佳女主角。KS 让我从容自信，光彩动人。我是我人生中的大女主，我的最爱我做主。KS 逆时奇迹系列热卖中，下单请上快点购，透过中天新闻网 App 下单立减50，或输入 CTI 推荐码有额外折扣。